What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another video with Gaming with Quayman, and welcome to Horror Story Sunday, where every Sunday we watch horror stories, and that's mostly it. So let's get into the video. Oh, and if y'all wanted to watch this horror story video, this is the channel. This is the video if y'all wanted to watch it or anything. So let's get into the video.
I grew up in a town where you didn't have to lock your bike or your back door.
We're already starting at a bad start. He said he used to live in a town where he never had to lock his back door or his front door. It don't matter where you live, you always supposed to lock them doors. I don't know what's
People
wrong with
waved
you.
at each other. You knew your neighbors, their dogs, even their routines. My whole elementary school experience was basically lived inside a single hallway. There were maybe 10 or 20 of us per grade, tops, and the same kids stuck around from first grade to 8th grade. We knew everything about one another, who got held back, whose parents were splitting up, who still wet the bed, even if nobody dared to say it aloud. We played baseball in the cul-de-sac, rode bikes behind the grocery store, took turns hosting birthday sleepovers with nothing but popcorn, surge, and a rented movie from that dirty old Planet Video. It was the 90s. Our lives revolved around Nintendo 64, Pogs, and who could do the best Jim Carrey impression.
I noticed this.
My parents trusted me, maybe too
that.
much. I was a latchkey kid by the 3rd grade, let myself in, microwaved a Hot Pocket, and watched whatever was on Fox Kids Block until they got home. I didn't get into much trouble. Most of us really didn't. There wasn't much to get into. Sleepovers, though, were how we marked time. Somebody's birthday meant Nerf wars, pizza, and fart jokes until somebody cried and puked. The houses were always safe, clean, and normal. Moms in fuzzy robes, dads who grilled hamburgers, old siblings who left us alone. That's just how it was. So when Mac Wallen invited the whole 6th grade crew over for his birthday sleepover, we all figured it'd be the same deal. A movie, maybe some late night junk food, somebody's hand in a bowl of warm water to see if they'd piss themselves. Because, well, that's just how they always go.
Oh, look, y'all.
Mac was new. He and his older brother Sam had moved into town that summer. Their house was in the dumpier part of the neighborhood where the roads weren't striped and half the lawns were just dirt patches. Sam was in 8th grade, but he didn't seem to like it. He was tall and greasy and had this mullet. All his shirts were missing sleeves and he had this twitch in his jaw like he was chewing something invisible. Even when he wasn't talking, he looked like he was about to spit. He didn't go out of his way to be mean, but nobody wanted to be near him. There was just something off about him. Mac, on the other hand, was different. Kind of funny, kind of crazy. A wild card. He'd say anything, try anything, and he didn't seem to care what people thought about him. That made him exciting in a way, especially to a bunch of bored 12-year-olds. He was like a free pass to mischief. Everybody wanted in on it. So when he handed out invitations, these cheap little printouts with monster trucks on them, we all said yes, of course. Every single last one of us. But of course, because you're listening to my story, we had no idea what we were walking into. We got off the bus late that Friday, backpacks slung over our shoulders, talking loud, acting tough. Mac was leading us onto the porch with that wide grin, crooked front teeth showing. His house, or maybe trailer, it was hard to tell, was sad low and sagging, like it had given up completely.
Why is the blinds on the outside of the house? Bro, look at this. Why is the blinds on the outside of the house? They're supposed to be in the inside. If I would went to a party and saw this, I'd have told my mom, come pick me up.
There were 2 busted lawn chairs in the front and crushed beer cans sitting in the windowsill. One of the shutters hung by a single hinge. Sam stood there in the doorway, arms crossed, chewing on a toothpick. He didn't say anything, just watched us file inside, one by one. Inside, the place smelled like wet laundry and burnt grease. The living room carpet was a weird shade of gray that crunched when you stepped on it. Mac's mom came out from the kitchen, smiling at us. She had these sharp cheekbones and was wearing a skimpy pink tank top. No bra, nipples poking through, which made half the boys go red in the face. She handed out paper plates with cake already on them and said, "Y'all have fun tonight, okay?" Then disappeared back down the hall.
Looked like handsome Squidward.
A minute later, we heard a car door slam and then the rumble of an engine. Mac turned to us and said, "They're going to the bar. We got the whole house to ourselves." And for some reason, That didn't sit right with me. I'd never been left alone at a sleepover before, not without a parent at least within yelling distance. A few of the other boys hesitated too, looking at each other, but nobody said anything. No one wanted to be the baby that called their mom in the moment. And at first it was fine. Loud music, sugar, junk food. We played truth or dare, shot rubber bands at each other, tried to wrestle inside this cramped hallway. Sam hung around, not saying much, just grinning whenever somebody got hurt or fell too hard. Around 9, Max said he had something better than any kind of movie. He led us into the back room where he shared with Sam, pulled open a wooden chest by the bed.
House is dirty.
Inside that box were stacks of tapes, mostly unlabeled. Everyone immediately started hooting and nudging at each other. He slid a tape into the VCR and turned the little TV on. The screen filled with grainy footage. Somebody was filming in a bedroom, shaky cam style. And right away, I knew it wasn't a movie. It was real. Mac's mom was on the bed, totally naked.
Oh, hell no! That's hell no!
Hair long.
What are we watching? What the heck are we watching, bro? Bro, they trying to get me demonetized, bro. We can't freaking watch this. Y'all not gonna see it. It's gonna be blurred out for y'all, but what's on the bed? You don't want to see
Longer
it,
then,
bro.
but definitely
You don't
her.
want to see it,
His
bro. What's
dad
up?
or somebody who looked like him was
You gotta-
cold.
that-
No one was really breathing anymore.
It's gonna
Sam
be
stood
blurred out for
behind
y'all.
us,
Y'all
arms
gotta watch
crossed, and watched us watch the movie.
it. That is crazy.
You like that, huh? He said. My dad used to tape everything. I wanted to leave right then, but I didn't know how to say it. Mac was grinning like it was just a joke. That's just one of them. You want to see the rest? He held up another tape in front of us. No, dude, we're good, somebody muttered, but it was drowned out completely. Next came the toys, pulled out of a drawer in the nightstand inside their parents' room. Rubbery, oily things that smelled faintly of latex and sweat. One looked like a dog toy dipped in Vaseline. Mac tossed it to one of the boys who caught it and dropped it like it was on fire. And just when we thought we'd hit the bottom, Sam pulled out this small wooden box from underneath the bed. He clicked it open and inside was a revolver. Real, heavy, and shiny. The metal looked clean, like it'd been
It's a big bullet for a revolver.
oiled recently. He held it up and said, "This is my dad's. Ain't it beautiful?" He pointed it at the ceiling first and then at one of the boys. "Bang," he said really quickly and loud. Everybody flinched. Mac laughed like we were a bunch of girls. "It's not loaded," he said, but his voice cracked when he said it. Sam walked around the room, slow pressing the barrel against foreheads. One
At this point, I would have slapped him, knocked the gun out of his hand, shot him in the head, and went home.
after the other. I could feel my stomach folding in on itself. The boy next to me was shaking. When the gun got to me, I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. Then I felt that cold metal kiss my skin. Sam grinned at me, clicked the hammer back, and then whispered, "What if?" And then he moved on. After that, the night completely had turned. The games stopped being games, and Sam kicked the family dog, a scruffy, sick-looking mutt named Jagger, right in the ribs for barking loud. Mac caught this mouse in a shoebox, then dumped it down the garbage disposal. Somebody said don't, but it was too late. The whir of the machine, the sound it made, was blended alive. We all stood there just watching silently. Sam opened up the microwave and pulled out this small garden snake out of an old fish tank. Mac was laughing, but his eyes didn't match. They looked flat, almost like he wasn't really there. I turned away though. I didn't want to watch this one. The last straw came when they lit the neighbor's trash can on fire. We all crept outside trying to be quiet, but Sam was spraying lighter fluid and giggling to himself. The flame shot up fast, and he danced around it, bare feet on the
It's a
pavement.
horror story. It's not even.
I looked to the rest of the boys. One was crying, one looked like he was ready to throw up. The fun was gone, long gone. This wasn't even mischief anymore. This wasn't even rebellion. It was pure madness to me. I slipped back inside and grabbed my backpack, laced up my shoes with my shaking hands. My heart was pounding so loud I couldn't hear anything else. I opened up the front door, stepped off into the dark and didn't look back.
That's
Not
smart.
even once. The street lights buzzed overhead. The night felt endless, and I just started walking. I didn't run, even though I wanted to. Every part of me screamed to just get away from there fast, but I didn't. I walked, one foot in front of the other, all the way down that cracked sidewalk, past parked cars and silent houses with normal lives behind the curtains. I think I even whispered the Lord's Prayer at some point, or maybe it was just
That's
some
good.
song that I'd heard on the radio. My brain didn't feel like it was working right. It felt like the world had shifted slightly now, like everything was tilted, off-center and shameful. My house was 8 blocks away, and each block felt like a mile itself. Every gust of wind made me flinch, and I kept thinking Sam was behind me the whole time, or Mac, or even worse, somebody had followed me out of the TV screen, something from that grainy, grimy tape. Some man with a camera and a mask and a laugh like gravel. I made it home just after 11. My parents were in the living room watching the news. My mom was knitting and my dad was drinking tea. I opened up the door and stepped inside, and they looked up like I was just back from prison. My mom immediately said, "What's wrong?" I didn't answer. I dropped my backpack and just stood there. I must have looked like hell because she was off the couch and at my side in seconds. "Honey, what's wrong?" I started crying, not loud or blubbering, just quiet, whole body. My dad stood up confused, and I couldn't get the words out fast enough. I told him about the gun, about the tapes, about the dog, the snake, the fire. I told him everything except for the parts that I didn't fully understand. The way Sam looked at us, the way Mac laughed without even blinking or
How was
thinking
it
twice.
scary?
My
Hold up,
mom
y'all.
held me so tight I could barely
We finna
breathe.
find-
My dad
we
turned the
finna find
TV off
another
and just
horror story
said
because
nothing
this
for a
is
really long
not
time.
Interesting at all. So catch on in
The next morning,
All right, y'all. We found I found another one to watch. Is this the channel and this the video? We probably not gonna watch the whole thing. It says 8 food delivery app horror stories. We might watch 2 or 3 of them. But yeah, let's get into this one.
Used to occasionally deliver for DoorDash on the weekends. This happened about a year ago, and at the time DoorDash was new to my area. Not many people used it, but if you worked at the right times, you could still make well above minimum wage. It was a Friday night, and I got a request in the app to deliver to a house around 8 miles away. The house was on a deeply wooded back road, with absolutely no streetlights. Like, literally, if you turned your headlights off at this time of the night, you were completely blind. I delivered to a house in this area once before, but that was when it was light out, which, trust me, is a way different scene. I didn't have much for phone service, so it was difficult to find exactly where I needed to be. But after a while, I finally found the place. The house seemed pretty similar to a lot of the other houses in the area, secluded looking, and right on the edge of being able to comfortably call it abandoned. I pulled up to the house, and because of the limited visibility, I decided to keep my car's headlights on while I dropped off the food at the door.
That's smart.
But to do this, I had to keep the keys in the ignition, and so I did. I figured it wouldn't be the end of the world if I left my car running for an extra 30 seconds. I took the bag of food to the front door. I knocked a few times, and waited about 20 seconds when my phone went off.
I ain't gonna lie.
I was getting a call from a blocked call.
If I was in the situation and I feel uncomfortable, I would have sat the food down, knocked on the door, rung the doorbell, and went back to my car. I don't care what happened to that food. As long as I got my picture that the food was at the door. we
Caller
should-
ID. I decided to answer it in case it had anything to do with the food I was delivering. It was some man who sounded completely normal. He explained how he was the one who placed the DoorDash order, and he then asked me if I could just bring it to him around back. I was already sketched out as is, and so I told the guy no way. If he wanted his food, he needed to come to me up front. But to that, the line just went dead. I told myself I'd wait at the front door for 1 more minute, and if this guy didn't show up, I was just gonna leave.
Go back to your
Maybe
car.
30 seconds passed, and the guy did show up. The front door opened, and I looked at the dude. He was wearing a black ski mask, and was just standing there looking at me. I held out the food, but he made no reaction. That's when the guy yelled out, "Alright, now!" Right as he said this, 3 men, also wearing ski masks, came sprinting out from around the back of the house towards me. My flight reaction kicked in immediately, and I ran straight to my car. I opened the door, put it in drive, and had the pedal to the floor in no less than 2 seconds. The men were able to hit my car a good amount of times before I was able to drive off. With what, I don't know, but something strong enough to break my back passenger side window and make a few other dents. Not even a minute into driving off, and I got 2 back-to-back calls from a blocked caller ID that I can only assume were both from the same guy. I let both calls ring until they stopped. I was shaking uncontrollably and still struggling to regain my composure. But after a few minutes, I calmed down enough to call the police and report the incident. And that was that. I don't know what ended up happening, and I genuinely don't want to know. I've tried to distance myself from the whole situation as much as possible. It's beyond terrifying for me to imagine what those guys had planned for me that night. A part of me thinks it was just to rob me, but another part of me thinks they wanted to kidnap me, or worse.
Some weird horror stories.
This happened back in 2019, on a Friday night in January. I had just gotten back from work, and was honestly way too tired to make my own food. I always heard good things about food delivery apps, and so I figured that night was the perfect night to finally download one and try it out. I just downloaded the first one that showed up. I then made an account, placed an order at a semi-nearby restaurant, and turned on Netflix to watch while I waited for it to arrive. Now, it's worth mentioning that on this night in particular, there was a lot of snow on the ground. The app said the delivery would take around 20 minutes, but I figured that didn't account for the terrible driving conditions. I honestly...
And if y'all wondering why I got a suit and stuff on, I'm recording this video on Sunday. We were supposed to go to church, but the weather got too bad, so they canceled it. Yeah, if y'all wondering why I got these clothes on.
assumed it would probably take double that. I can't remember exactly how much time had passed, but it finally got to a point where I figured I'd just forget it and cancel the order. But right before I did, I got a message from the driver. Word for word, the message read, "Can't find your house. What's your personal phone number?" Now, you gotta remember, I had just downloaded the app that night, so I didn't know if it was common or not for drivers to ask for their customers' personal phone numbers. But I ended up giving it to him anyway. Around 10 minutes later, he would contact me, but not over a phone call like I expected. The guy texted me, saying he'd be at my place with the food in 10 minutes. This unsettled me a bit. I was under the impression he needed my phone number so he could call me and get better directions. But I just tried to brush it off. Around 10 minutes later, I would get another text saying he left the food on my doorstep. I went outside to get it and sent a text back thanking him.
On the Uber Eats.
I figured that was that. But around midnight, I would get another text. It was the delivery driver. The text simply read, "I really liked your sweatshirt." This was now getting extremely weird, as the text suggested that the guy had stayed to watch me grab the food from my doorstep. I tried to play it cool, and responded with something like, "Haha, yeah, thanks. It's pretty nice." I can't remember everything that was said next, but it was some string of multiple texts that were something along the lines of, "So how's your night going? What are you up to?" and various other seemingly harmless messages. To these, I didn't respond. At the end of the day, I told myself I didn't know this guy, and I had no obligation to keep a conversation going. So I just went to bed. But come morning, I would wake up to 20-something texts and multiple missed calls, all from the same number. It was again that same delivery driver. The last text was sent at 3 a.m., and as I scrolled through the texts, two in particular caught my eye. One of them read, "I'm outside your house," and the other said, "I can't see anything through your window. It's too dark." But that wasn't even the worst of it. I would later go outside to find footprints in the snow that I knew for a fact were not there the other day. Meaning, this guy wasn't joking. He had actually showed up to my house, and by the looks of the footprints, had walked around it multiple times. I've since moved, and haven't received another text from the number. That was the first, and only time I will ever use a food delivery app.
I mean, that's crazy. I mean, it's not really scary though. Somebody came to my house with that.
I'm 27,
That bull
and currently
crap.
out of work.
Hey,
I recently got
you
laid
can-
off at my job, as the company I worked for was starting to go under. So, in an effort to keep up with the bills, I started delivering for Uber Eats part-time. A couple of my friends suggested it, and so I figured I'd give it a try until I found another job. To my surprise, it was actually good money, The only thing I didn't like was some of the places the app had me delivered to. I live in a city with a lot of sketchy areas. I try to stay away from those areas while delivering, but there's only so much you can do. This night, a Saturday, I got a McDonald's order. I usually don't accept those ones, but this night was strangely dead, which was weird. Saturday nights are usually the busiest for Uber Eats. Anyway, I pick up the order and start heading towards the address I'm given. Instantly, I realized it was not in the best area, but by this point, I decided to just suck it up. I pulled up to the house, and right away the vibe was off. It was completely dark with not a single light on in the house. Usually there's at least a light on upstairs, or something that would signal someone being awake and waiting for their order. But the house seemed dead. Nevertheless, I put the car in park, turned off the engine, grabbed the order, and started walking towards the door. I walked onto the porch, and as I reached for the front door, I saw it. The door was slightly cracked open. I knocked, and as I did, the door opened slightly more. I yelled out that I had an Uber Eats order, and right away some man walked to the front door, like as if he had just been waiting right there. As he got closer, I got a good look at him. Now, I'm not one to judge a person by their physical appearance, but this guy was practically covered head to toe in tattoos. The guy looked extremely intimidating, definitely not someone you'd want to mess with. He had this look of frustration, or almost anger on his face. He was staring at me dead in the eyes. I lifted up the bag of food, and he grabbed it. The guy then started reaching in his pocket. I figured he was going to give me a tip. But no, before I knew it, the guy was holding a hunting knife and pointing it in my direction. My stomach dropped, realizing the situation I was now in. I was either going to get robbed for everything I had, or worst case scenario, killed. My mind was now racing. Thinking as fast as I could, I turned around towards my car, screamed at Derek to grab the gun, and put my hand in my pocket to start my car's engine from a button on the
Somebody
key.
else was with you?
But there was no Derek, and I was in no way armed. But I figured if I could somehow convince this guy I was, I gave myself a chance to get out of this. All I could do was pray that the threat along with the vehicle starting would be enough to convince this guy I didn't come here alone. And luckily it was. The guy shoved me back and slammed the front door. I ran back to my car and practically tore the door off trying to get in.
Lied and said
I got out of there as fast as I could. I would of course end up calling the police, but I never heard anything back about whatever ended up happening. I assumed they didn't find anything, and that the guy was long gone by the time they arrived on scene. But I can't confirm this. If there's one thing I'm sure of, it's how fortunate I am to own a car with a remote proximity key, as I don't think the guy would have bought the whole act if I didn't start the engine. I still drive for Uber Eats every once in a while, but I've since started carrying a knife on me at all times.
Well, these on the second video was actually kind of good. It wasn't all that bad like the first one. That had some inappropriate. I don't know what the freak we were watching, but that was horrible. This was actually good. We might actually finish this video one day. Maybe next Sunday we might finish this video because it actually is. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They got 6 videos left to watch, but thank y'all for watching this video. Subscribe, comment. We on the road to 100 subscribers. Subscribe, comment, like, and comment what other games I'm gonna play. Share, turn the notifications on so you get notified every time I make a video. And thank you for watching this video. Peace.